That crew, listen up. I know firsthand how limited a vessel's medical insurance can be. This is why you need reliable medical coverage. Moore Dixon offers comprehensive global insurance tailored for yachties, covering everything from emergencies to routine checkups with flexible options and a single point of contact. Moore Dixon has been voted best health and medical insurance by captains and crew, including myself. Don't wait until the unexpected happens. Get covered today. Visit mdbl.im or email them at inquiries@mdbl.im for a free quote. Today's guest is Nick Hayward-Young, former yacht captain turned psychotherapist, now known as the Superyacht Psychotherapist, with years at the helm and now years supporting crew from a therapeutic perspective. Nick bridges the gap between understanding the pressure of yachting and offering tools to navigate them. From long hours and isolation to the unspoken mental toll of this high demanding lifestyle, we unpack what therapy really is, how it fits into this transient world, and how both crew and employers can start taking better care of emotional well-being on board. Whether you're a greenie, a seasoned crew member, or a captain trying to keep it all together, this conversation is for you. So let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Thank you very much for having me.
I am quite excited because, I have talked to a lot of counselors and psychotherapists, but I have never talked to a psychotherapist who was a former captain. And this is unheard of until I met you. And it's amazing that somebody like you is available because, one of the things that I hear a lot in the mental health realm when talking to crew is that when they go into a psychotherapist session, they feel like they are not seen, understood, because the person obviously that is supporting them, even though they have tools and all that, they don't really understand yachting because it's such a complex, demanding, even unheard of lifestyle and work environment for a lot of people out there. So to have somebody like you is just amazing, such a great resource because you get it. And you get it not only from the crew perspective, but also from a captain perspective, which is completely different. And I think that's just amazing. So can you start with sharing a little bit about your background and how you transitioned from being a yacht captain to becoming a psychotherapist?
Sure, I'll do my best. So I've been around yachting for most of my life, in periods of time where I've been full on working in boats, and then I also went and worked in TV for quite a long time. Worked as in TV production as a TV director, but boats were never far away from my life. And about 20 years ago, I suppose, 15 years ago, I went back to sea, and captaining a sailing yacht. And at the same time, probably, I guess it's probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I was thinking, what am I going to do when I no longer look after people on boats, or no longer jump around on boats, no longer jump into a tender? What happens? What am I going to do? I mean, I didn't have a pension. I didn't have any sort of contingency plans for what I was going to do in my old age. And my partner at the time had studied to be a psychotherapist, and I'd seen her journey, and I'd seen how fulfilled she had become by doing it, and how she became very good at it, and she still is very good at it. But I knew that if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it properly. I wanted to study with a bona fide training outfit, because there are an awful lot of organizations that will take your money and say, we'll train you to be a counselor in 6 months. Hey, why don't you do it? So I was very keen that I did it the right way. And the more I studied it, the more I thought, where could I be of best value, I suppose? And I thought, well, I do understand the yachting world, and it's a pretty, well, as you say, unique world. I've been lucky enough to be both crew and guest, actually, on some fairly amazing yachts as well. So that's seeing it from a completely different perspective and seeing the demands that, seeing things the way the owner would expect things to be done. But anyway, the more I trained and the more I thought about it and the more I thought about my future, I thought, where could I best use these skills? And so that's really where the Superyacht Psychotherapist was born and how it was born. And yeah, that's where we are today.
Amazing. I love your journey. In your experience, what are the biggest mental health challenges faced by people working in the yachting industry?
In the main, the mental health challenges aren't necessarily different to those that you and I face, or, we're bad examples, but, that everybody faces in the street. I think those mental health problems or issues can be experienced by anybody. I think what the unique nature of the problems are on board is the environment that people are living in and the environment that people are trying to cope with their mental health issues, if that makes sense. So, yachting isn't the only place where a senior male member of staff might come onto a junior female member of staff. And that's not unique to yachting. Bullying isn't unique in yachting. Physical abuse isn't unique. Long hours isn't unique. But what is unique in yachting is the fact that everybody's living so close together. Nobody can get away to have any personal space. Nobody can have any secrets because everybody knows everybody's business. You can hear the telephone call, you can hear the conversation in the cabin next door. So I think that's perhaps a long-winded way of saying I don't think that the actual issues are different, but it's the environment in which people are trying to cope with those issues. That's what's different.
There's a common misconception that therapy is about being fixed.
Sure.
Can you explain what therapy really is and how it can benefit yachting professionals specifically? Because I have to tell you, a lot of people tend to cringe when they hear the word therapy, or like if you suggest that they see a therapist or a counselor, they think, oh, you're telling me there's something wrong with me. So yeah, give us your perspective on that.
Okay, so if I said to you, I've got toothache, you'd say, well, go see the dentist. Or if I said, I've got a sore shoulder, you say, hey, well, go see the physiotherapist, make an appointment, see the physiotherapist. You wouldn't think there was anything wrong with me for doing that. You just think, well, you're just being sensible. You've got toothache, you're going to go and see the dentist. But mental health isn't like that. No, although things are getting much better, there is still this stigma attached to it. Ridiculous stigma that if I say to you, oh, I'm going to go off and see my therapist, you're going to think, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you seeing a therapist? When, in fact, I might only be going because I might just be wanting to improve my mental health just as I would improve my body by going to the gym. It's no different. I mean, I might have an issue that I want to work through with my therapist, but in fact, one of the things that I know is one of your later questions is, what would you say to people who are worried about having therapy for the first time? When I was training, one of the requirements was that we had to have therapy of our own. And first of all, I sort of rail against this, thinking, I don't need therapy, there's nothing wrong with it. And but I had to do it, and I had to be signed off for 100 hours of my own therapy. And I didn't take any particular issue to my therapist, but within a week or 2 or 3 weeks, I was loving it because I was learning so much about myself, and I was learning why I react to certain things in the way I do, and why I react to certain people in the way I do. It was fascinating, and I just came away thinking everybody should have therapy. You don't need something wrong with you to have therapy. Just do it like you'd go for a cycle ride or for a jog or for go to the gym. Taking care of ourselves. The brain, our mental state is linked to our body. They're not separate. And I think, again, I've probably gone off a little bit off piste with regard to your question, but I think there is this terrible stigma, and that's one of my things that I fight against most is trying to remove the stigma from mental health, because and I'm not the only one trying to do that, but it's still there, and people are still frightened. They're worried about going to their captain saying, "Can I see my therapist?" or a therapist, because they think the captain's going to think, "Oh, I'm not fit for my job." Why think that? But that is what is still associated with it, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting what you said about your journey of becoming a psychotherapist and having to take therapy yourself, and you even resisting it at the beginning, but obviously it was like a demand, so you had to have requirements, so you had to do it. And then it gave you the perspective of like, hey, you know what, like this is not just for those who need or believe that need the help, or that we can see that they need the help, but this is really for everybody. Because I think that, it's all about prevention. And when we see a counselor, a therapist, when we're feeling our best, I think that's when we really need to go to the therapist. It's when we feel our best. Because when we feel our best, then we're more open to dive deeper into our self-development and be more curious about what can I learn about me. I think really if we start to looking at therapy and counseling as a self-development tool and not as there's something wrong and this is what's going to fix me, I think that really might start to take away the stigma around it. And obviously conversations from the captain and within the crew of like, hey, we should be self-developing ourselves through therapy, so counseling. But yeah, it's I have been on the both sides of the coin where I have gotten therapy because I was not doing well. Like I was in depression, suicidal ideation. And then after that, I was like, no, I need to continue to therapy to not get there, because this is the way to prevent it.
I think that what just came to me this then was that, not my generation, but your generation and even people younger than you, to spend more time and more effort and more money probably as well on staying fit, looking after themselves, looking to the future, looking to live longer, and in fact, I know that certainly for a while, and I don't know if it still is the case, but there was a time I was aware in the last 3 or 4 years where people would happily say they were going to AA meetings, and it was like a badge of honor to say, "Oh, I'm off to see my my AA group." And I guess what would be really good is if we got to the point where people were just happy to say, "I'm off to see my therapist," and it's cool. It's not.
And I do have to say that is not the majority, but there's a lot of people out there that I talk, daily with crew who are happy to say, actually, yeah, this is how I take care of my mental health. Because what I see, what I hear a lot when I ask on interviews with crew and I say, how do you take care of your mental health? First, they have to think about it. And when they think about it, they always tell me, I read books or I exercise physically, which is true. Exercising and taking time to just be is going to benefit your mental health. But like you said, your brain is a muscle and it also does need a different stimulation that just running is not going to give you. Absolutely. So having a resource like a therapy, a counseling session is going to be that extra effort, that extra practice that you're going to give to your brain in order to really maintain your mental health. Because the same way we maintain our bodies, we do have to maintain our mental health. And I think that it is shifting. I do have to say it is shifting. I know that we want it to be, quickly, but from when I started back in 2006 to now, I mean, we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Before, mental health was not even heard. Nobody would say the words. Now we're like talking about it. People are saying, yes, I'm proud to be going to my therapist every week or once a month or whatever. I'm part of that community as well. So I do think that it is definitely, we are moving in the right direction.
Sure.
So there is definitely hope. Let's talk about the role of the therapist and what should crew member expect when they seek therapy?
Okay, so earlier on you were saying quite rightly that a lot of people think that therapy is going to fix them. And what I would say is that if you came to me, I can't fix you. I'm not you. I haven't had your experience in life. I don't see life through your eyes. I don't hear life through your ears. There's no way I can fix you because I'm not you. But what I think we as therapists can do is help you to fix yourself. Okay, so I'm still using the word fix on purpose, but I think if you are able to share with me as the therapist the things that are of concern to you or the issues that you want to work through, if I can listen in a non judgmental way, not in any way comment, just listen in a non judgmental, empathic way, and then reflect back to you what it is you've said, it is extraordinary how you will then think, oh, wait a minute. And it's actually you doing the fixing. It's not me. All I've done is reflected back to you what you've told me. And I might pick one or two things and not all of it, but I might say, oh, but you said you never liked going into the room first, or, whatever thing you might say to me. But done in the right way, that will enable you to think, oh yeah, now I know. And it's extraordinary. I mean, I found this myself when I was having my therapy myself, that I would talk about the therapist about things that I found to be a problem for me. And she didn't tell me what I should do to fix the problem. I just realized as I was talking to her, oh, that's how I'm going to fix the problem.
Right. It's like
And,
it allows you to just let the penny drop and
yeah,
become aware of what you already deeply know about
yeah.
yourself.
But I'm never going to tell you to go in the door first, or I'm not going to say to you it's wrong to go in the door first. I'm not going to say it's right, because if I was to give you any advice at all and it doesn't work out for you, then you're going to blame me 100% for the fact that, well, you told me to go in the door first. So whether or not that's what I'm thinking you should do, because I think it will be to your benefit, I'm never going to say that to you. You need to work it out for yourself. So I think for somebody coming to therapy for the first time, certainly the humanistic approach that I use, we're not looking for problems that happened in your former lives or anything like that. We're just listening to what you're telling me now, reflecting back, and in it giving you the safe space, which, let's face it, very few of us get in any walk of life, let alone on a super yacht where you're sharing a cabin with two or three people and you get no space at all. So therapy is, even if it's on the telephone, it's that 1 hour where nobody's judging you, nobody's saying you're right or wrong, nobody's criticizing you. You're just talking to somebody who is happy to listen without having any view on what you're saying. And then when they repeat to you or reflect back to you what you've said to them, I think it's an extraordinary experience, because you start to hear for yourself what you were saying to the therapist. And you'll think, oh, that's, of course, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And anyway, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's what I would suggest people can expect, certainly from seeing me.
Yes,
Anyway, yeah.
it does. So you did mention the telephone, which is important to know because these days, obviously, technology and we're always at sea. So knowing that somebody like you and a lot of therapists these days and counselors are able to see us, whether that be through Zoom or another online platform or a telephone, WhatsApp, whatever that may be, know that you don't have to be physically in person with the therapist to actually get a session. So that's super important for our crew members to know. Now, if a crew member feels they need mental health support, how should they approach their captain or management about it?
I think that's a really difficult question to answer, because obviously boats, yachts, the whole vibe on board comes from the top. And if the captain is a supportive champion of mental health, and you know that he is, and even if you're the most junior crew member, you'll hear from your fellows that, you know, this captain's just great. You can go and talk to him about anything you want, and he'll always try and help you. That's fantastic. But you might also end up on a boat where people say, oh, don't bother talking to him. He's old school. He just says, get on with it. You know, he just says, sort yourself out and get on with it. So I think it's probably case by case. I think that there's this misunderstanding among crew that the minute they mention a mental health issue, the alarm bells amongst the management company or the captain are going to start ringing, thinking, oh, crikey, this person is, I'm not sure we want to be responsible for this person because their mental health isn't quite what it should be. So I think, and I'm very aware I haven't answered your question. I don't know how they can say it. I think everybody's different, and everybody will have a different way of asking. Hands up. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, thanks for your honesty. I think, as a former crew member, I would approach it, with honesty. And I would say, basically, I wouldn't say I have an issue. You know what I mean? Because like you said, that rings bells. I would just say, hey, the same way I'm taking care of my body, I want to take care of my mental health. And I am wondering if the vessel offers mental health support. How can we go about it? I think the less information we give, the better, probably, because that might not ring the bells. That if you say, hey, I'm having a really, like if I would have gone to my captain or manager and say, hey, I'm depressed, I'm having suicidal thoughts. Yes, they're going to take me off the boat because that's a huge liability for them. Versus, hey, I want to take care of my mental health. How would you support me to do so? Does the vessel provide something? And this is where it really comes down to us as crew member asking these questions before we even join the vessel. On the interview, when you're having an interview with a captain or manager or owner, how do you guys support mental health on board? Simple question. If they cannot answer, that's your red flag. And if they can answer and they care, they'll say, you know what? Good question. We never had an issue. I'm going to look into it. I'll get back to you. And then maybe they'll implement a procedure for that. But if immediately somebody puts you down, that's a massive red flag. You don't want to work on that environment unless you're willing to take care of your mental health on your own and not have the support on board. That's your choice, obviously. But I think, if you are in a position where that you're wondering if there is mental health support through the vessel, I think just saying something like, hey, Captain, I want to get some mental health support just to, maintain it. What's the procedure? Do you guys have anything, that implemented on board? I think just that everybody can say that's not very, you're not giving information that you don't want to give. It doesn't really, I don't feel like that rings bells, alarm bells. I think it's more of, for me, if I was a captain or manager, it's like, oh, okay, maybe we haven't thought about this. And this is something that we all know happens. And somebody's brave enough to kind of bring it to the table. So that's my advice on how to approach it. And obviously, if you do need support on how to approach it, then you can, talk to somebody specifically that could help you depending on your different circumstances, right? So how can yacht management and employers better support their team's mental well-being?
By letting it be known that they do support it, that they are sympathetic. And I think, making it known that it's okay, you can be as open as you like. Come to us. If you have a mental health problem, come to us. Come to us because we support it. We will help find we might not be able to find the right therapist literally the right therapist, but we can signpost you in the direction of the type of help you might need. And up to a point, we can fund it as well. So, and whether that's for, one session or 6 sessions or whatever. But I think that once crew know, especially young crew who are, they might just have left home and this is their big adventure into the world. And they think, hey, I'm actually not finding this as fun as I thought I would, and I have got 1 or 2 issues I'd like to talk to somebody about. They're worried that this is going to blow their career. They've looked forward to this job. They've done their SDCW. They've done their training, and they think, oh, it's not really as I expected it. I don't like the person I'm sharing my cabin with, or if they know that the captain and that the management team are open to hearing about this and that they're not alone in this, then that's a huge step forward.
I agree with you. I think we need to be more verbal about what we do support if the management company does support it and the captain. But I do think there's other things that could be implemented to even further the cost. And that would be something like, every boat usually has a manual for crew members where it says from how to act to how to use the uniform and what to do in case of fire and blah, 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 right? So like having a wellness chapter in there that tells you if you're having any mental health issues or you want to prevent them, this is how you can support yourself, like therapies that are available, maybe making sure that the insurance on board does cover mental health, which, by the way, I do know that more Dixon's brokers who are actually the ones funding this episode today, their insurance, insurance that they do go through, they do cover mental health counseling and therapists. So, making sure that you do have a good insurance for your crew member that covers that. Also, if you don't have that type of insurance, or maybe you don't even give insurance to crew members, then having some sort of funding specifically for that, where each crew member has X amount of sessions. After that, obviously, each crew member has to invest in their well-being, and even like a session on how to approach if you have a mental health issue or that you need support, how to approach management or shore support, right? Like your DPA or the captain, like who to contact, right? Like I think these are things that should be part of your crew manual. Like why are they not there? I don't know, but it should be. The same way you tell me how to wear a uniform, you should be able to tell me what to do if I need support with my mental health, right? Because definitely there's procedures if I break my leg, if if something physically happens to me, there's a procedure, there's the checkbook list that you have to go through, right? So why not have that with mental health? Like it's common sense to me, right? So I think obviously not just saying we support you, but really making sure that it's almost like a mandate thing, like a requirement for the vessel that you're managing or you're captaining, that it includes all this information. So we normalize it. It's not something that we have to, on behind the scenes talk to the captain or management and nobody should know about it. It's like, no, like this is what I need to do or anybody else needs to do if we get into this situation, right? So I think that's, for me as a crew member, that would have been very helpful to just have something like that, that I can go to the crew mess, look it up myself. I don't even have to tell anybody, okay, this is the person I need to contact. This is what I get. This is what I don't get. Done. And you can even do that without even telling the captain. Unless you want to obviously tell the captain or management, but you can have that information for yourself. So I think that's super important to have those resources available of the right information for the crew members. For anyone who's interested in reaching out to you for support or guidance, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, they can get in touch with me either by email in the first instance, which is Nick, Nick, at the Superyacht Psychotherapist.com. Or if they want to find out a bit more about what I do, they can look at the website, which is thesuperyachtpsychotherapist.com. And they can use the contact form there to get in touch. And once we've established an email correspondence, then we can decide whether we want to go WhatsApp or message or whatever.
And everything that you guys need to know is below the video. So you can use those links to get in touch with Nick. And before we wrap up, what are 3 top tips to maintain your mental health? No matter if you're a captain or green crew, what are your top 3 tips?
Don't suffer in silence, I think, is number 1. Don't keep it all in. So even if you're sharing it with your cabin buddy, talk about your problems, because, and I'm just staying on one here, but it is true that a problem shared is a problem halved, and sometimes in the small hours in the morning, you can be lying awake thinking life is just so bad, and yet when you get up and you meet your crew member and you start to have breakfast or think about the day ahead, things can get an awful lot better just by sharing. So I think don't suffer in silence. And if you can, if you don't want to talk to your colleagues about it, your fellow crew, get on the phone home, or, just talk to somebody, because somebody will listen to you. I think if you're the type that likes physical exercise, then definitely physical exercise is fantastic. I think if you're the type that is able to resist bad food, then try and resist bad food, because food clearly has an effect on our mental state. Obviously, the yachting industry has its fair share of social events and even on board sort of socializing, as it were. And if you're on the wrong boat, you might well fall foul of drink and drugs. And obviously that's not going to be good for anybody. So that's 4 now. But I think, just take time to take care of yourself. Take time to take care of yourself, because you're the one who can best do it. That's for sure.
Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your, just coming here to talk about how you can support the industry. And if you want to get in touch with Nick, links are below. And remember, it's not about fixing something, it's about preventing something. So utilizing counseling and therapy as a resource and a tool to prevent something like depression or something like that. And if you already are experiencing that, then using these tools and resources to support you get better. So thank you again, Nick. And until next time. If you find today's discussion eye-opening and helpful, don't forget to subscribe and share. We would love to hear your thoughts on this topic, so reach out to us on social media via Yachting International Radio or Yachts Mermaids. Let's continue the conversation.